Using the watermark because of reasons that include this one. I'm experimenting. And yeah. Also, I'm experimenting. Thank you for your time and for staying, I guess. Well, okay, guys, so this is actually my first time watching an anime for any other reason than trying to learn about my friends, family, or even overcomplicate for any other reason I can think of. But yeah, I've actually enjoyed anime throughout the entire time I've actually considered it. This being one of the ones you could think of as a starter, since in this anime in particular, you actually use that word in the last anime review of this channel. Damn. Uh, there's quite a few cliches that they collect all together for the anime that we all know over time, which makes sense for it even being as old as like almost a whole decade since the anime released in sub. And what I can tell you is that even if it's only supposed to be like a elementary kind of anime, like just teaching you like cliches and how to start watching anime, there's still a lot that can be to be seen with this one. Actually, as far as people saying it, I'll get off the bat that yes, it is indeed probably one of the more popular romance anime that happens to be a romantic comedy. And if I had to revolutionize anything else that comes with that kind of thing, knowing that a lot of cliches that have existed before didn't have to necessarily be multi genres, but like for anime's sake though, that's pretty cool though. I'm gonna try to elaborate on this one because I did set the timeline for this part of my editor to last about 50 minutes in total, without even like pre-playing how I was gonna do that. So if you know, you know. But this is experimentation at this point. So I got like 7 minutes on here for now. So on this segment, so Toradora, as far as these 25 episodes I've been, it's been really good. I actually, I'm not gonna lie, there were parts of it that did feel a little boring. It wasn't like something that I can only get into and then be like, oh, if I don't like it, I don't like it, I'll just leave. But there were parts of it that I did not have to overcomplicate for my own well-being. But here's the thing, Taiga being one of the only Tsundres I can think of as a character for introducing Tsundre as a trope, and as the other characters, they probably introduce their own kind of anime tropes as well, cliches or not, but they're so well done in their own ways. I think I there's another anime like Toradora that can remind me of these tropes as well as the very setting itself, the Harima melancholy one, which was actually 2 years before this anime came out, like 2006 to 2008. I've actually also a funny side note. I did read the manga a little bit, almost a whole decade until I finally watched this anime. And I watched like the a couple of the songs for the OP1 ED2 on YouTube about like 1 or 2 or 3 years before I watched this anime as well. So middle school being the late 2000s, early 2010s. So yeah, all of that, not too much tangent, but yeah. Toradora has been really nice. I didn't actually watch every single episode the way I should have. Like, if you think of the classic otaku who watches an anime like in one go, or even at least a season in one arc in a go of a day or so, that'd be the overkill stereotype. But what I actually did was even more inane than that. I would watch the episodes like doing pretty much anything on various devices. The various devices can be the same as simulcast for Crunchyroll, but I actually would watch this thing like pretending it's a soap opera in the tub, just for like episode 2, I think, or 3. And then in some other situations, I wouldn't even be sitting in that chair. I would just be watching from standing up or even pacing around. I did not. So that being said, I basically did not watch this anime completely, but as far as maybe paying attention would concern that with. But I did get enough of the story. I'm gonna try to be specific why I try to say this, but it's just it's really nice. I think one thing that Toradora did teach me that I didn't have to, again, this could be overthinking, but is that with life in particular, you're not just looking for things that make sense, and there are other kinds of series and shows that aren't even anime that will tell you this, that not everything has to make sense. But what I'm trying to understand is that something that I think this anime taught me was that even if things are supposed to make sense at first and shouldn't have to make sense the whole time, there's a sort of a layering aspect that this comes into. You can think of it as being like where you don't have to remodel things over what's supposed to happen the first time. Because I look at my own life and I think about the things I didn't do properly the first time, whether I knew how to or not, whether they were too fast or not, and whether they actually could have been resolved or shouldn't have to be or not. And I do look at some of these characters. I think maybe they're it could be the what people see as a stereotype or cliche of high school romance and comedies and drama and all that, and that could be a standard for what they would set in 2008 or forward or backwards. But I don't see it so much as that. Like there are things I don't even see about the real world being any different than what I should have seen as a stereotype. But this was still a really good show. I think of this lesson being important to me. Where this one I in particular I was trying to say like a minute ago. Life will come in layers, whether they're necessary or not. You have a way of going through certain phases and cycles where you can come back to certain phases of life over and over to see if you actually changed, or regardless of change, you see them happen as you change over time. You can go those phases in life and see and be able to see for yourself, but nonetheless they'll come by and you can still change. But I think with Toradora, I think I was seeing that this didn't have to happen the way people would think it would have to. Like, however people seem to see drama or romance in high school and all that, or the funny journey of that, I didn't have to see that the same way either. But I tend to distance myself from people on accident somehow. I tend to always say that I want to be both unique and relatable. But enough of me. It was quite a journey. I see life as being in kind of like layers. You don't have to make sense of Newton's law of having the apple fall from the tree and that being a literal action in reality. This is not literal reality, at least in terms of this anime being fiction. But I'm not scared, but I swear I'm getting something. But like, I got one more minute. Okay. What this seemed to teach me was that life comes in layers, and whether they make sense or not, it's better that they happen that way. When you have a life coming in layers, it will only have to make sense if you want to give it meaning. And I think for a lot of people, that's what everything comes for a reason usually means, is that you can just find your own meaning. Even through nihilism, you can still define your own meaning. I didn't have to go into Toradora thinking that I would save all my life problems, or even that I would try to do something finally for once, have ultimatums in a positive light, and see if that anything would change. Nothing had to change, but I was already prepared for this to end the way I wanted it to, watching it on my own terms, not having to pay attention the whole time, but it still happened to be my own cup of tea. Oh no, here comes a sponsor. That's not a sponsor. Okay. So anyways, we got the segment of One More Level. One More Level is a site run by Ira Williams. It no longer ceases to be, but it ceased to be because it was a site that actually happened to run Flash games. It was one of the earliest sites I actually discovered, where one member of my family discovered these Flash games online, as per the rumor. You would think that I only know about Flash games because I only needed to think about wanting to play them and nothing more, nothing less. As you have seen me describe Toradora, the anime, you will already tell that I actually overcomplicate things both on a whim and on my own terms. And so I need to express this plainly, that this is not a sponsor, and this is rather a experimentation for the entire video. It is actually not even necessary to explain Ira Williams' One More Level outdated site, because it doesn't even exist anymore. Not only that, but because it's actually been like roughly about Flash games, and not even those should have to be overcomplicated or given too much weight. But I dare beg to differ. I think Flash games, like anime, have given me an outlet for things I didn't have to understand. Whether I give them meaning or not, they were just there. But the meaning I tend to give them is very remarkable. I tend to actually do this for a lot of things on my videos and YouTube in particular, where I will actually give a lot of depth and meaning to things that shouldn't have had them to begin with, or shouldn't have had as much as that would have been implied with. There are plenty of anime, actual real-world video games on Steam and on the console market that actually have the depth and weight on purpose, and I'm not even getting to those in my own videos. I get to the ones that happen to really invest into their own livelihoods. Things that happen to have that much meaning don't have to. But with Flash games, yes, I was already choosing to have fun. Whether this foundation started from Ira Williams' site, or whether it actually and by the way, the guy's fantastic guy. I don't know if he's on Twitter anymore, but you try to find him if you can. But like, for him to have this as a hobby, and for it to have kickstarted a lot of my lessons in life that didn't have to come from just having fun, even if I didn't philosophize having fun, or even do that even proper, than any simplicity or complexity would have implied, then yeah, that's what I was saying for this. But anyways, if you want the simple of it, then yeah, playing Flash games, not just from any other site I found at this point, over the years until 2020 or 2021. Yeah, they were a blast. I can still play them on Rumble or whatever else. I mean the Ruffle. I think Rumble's compromised, but that's all sites, I guess. But Flash gaming was if I had to say as default fun, even though I didn't technically play them to achieve fun, if that even applies to anything else, or whether I actually played them for life lessons or to actually enjoy whatever I was doing with them, then yeah, I did have a way to enjoy one more level, enjoy the flash games I played, and still learn what I wanted from them. But it was only because I didn't have to care about anything else, but I cared about this instead, and I didn't have to, but it was just there. So we're gonna go back to Toradora review in a second. This is a custom timeline, so I'm not sure how this will end, but I think it's more in minute 10. So I'll see you guys on the end. Let me see. Let me come for a bit. Let me drink some water before it comes back. And we are now back on the Toradora timeline. This is the last part of the video. We got another 5 minutes to go, so let me give you a real review of this anime. I liked okay, it's not Tai Chi. It's not it's not I'm not gonna stick around this, but Taiga Ryuka, is that his name? Rukia? What was his name? Ah, freaking! I watched this anime for like 4 or 5 days in a row. No, 3.5 days to 4 days, and then so it's a little slower than the cliche otaku, but you know, so not as long. It's like the Thursday afternoon, Friday morning, or Thursday morning. I forget what it was. It was like Thursday or Friday, and then I ended it like this Tuesday. So, you know, however fast I upload this video. So yeah, just like half a week watching this anime Toradora. I'm gonna a little bit of history that I don't have to delve into, which I will do anyways. Which I don't have to, but I will delve into it. Which I don't have to, but I'll delve into anyways. Is that this anime appeared to have been on a sub since 2008. It has its Crunchyroll to 2014 dub, and yeah, in the summer of 2014. And I think about when I was in school in those years. Damn, grade school for that matter. But and then watching the OP1, ED2 in the later years, and then finally watching anime 2 or 3 years after that, or 1 year after that. Yeah. So when I started watching this anime, I was the funny thing was I was worrying that Taiga would keep punching or attacking as per the Tsundre stereotype on Ryuka over and over, which didn't have to happen too much. Like the very first punch was obviously like expected, but as I should not know these stereotypes before watching the animes for the first time, but you know, backwards learning I get into other videos. But this is a really good anime. I didn't it doesn't have to be like top tier, it doesn't have to be a low tier. I don't have to be this confused. But I think of it that, like I said before in the other segment of this video, it's like life seems to come in layers. You don't have to make sense of it. Just because there's an obvious way to make things better doesn't mean they have to only be that way the entire time. Look at how I refuse to be clear and concise in my communication. How that's affected me on the Incredibots forums, real life schooling, real life work, things I do with other Discord servers, all that. You will think of that as being a regret because you know that you have to eventually be clear and concise in the future. If you were me, if you knew that had to objectively happen at some point, why wouldn't you change that? And my reasoning for that, especially when watching Toradora, is that life will come in layers. If you don't have to change, but you do it anyways, that does sense a sentiment of virtue for that. But more so, the reason I choose to overcomplicate anime like this is because I want to live the life on my own terms that can still be out of control the way I would prefer it to be, even if the things I lose control over aren't things I actually idealized. But I look at the Tsundre stereotypes like Taiga, I look at the characters in this show, both the ones that were overly perfect and the ones that were less than even ideally out of chaos. And I was never annoyed about the number of times the blue-haired girl had to say her own monologues. I was never really thinking about too many other things while watching Toradora. Although you can imagine I probably would if I was overthinking all this. But I give Toradora my own meaning because it already has meaning that it was inheriting from the side of its writing to its conformation. It was actually... There are things that I'm probably never going to understand about my life, even if I have things already set in their place the way they're supposed to and the way that they should have remarkably been, even if they aren't, whether I'm doing a good job or not with my own life. None of these characters had to do anything right. They never had to do... Oh, there. They never had to do anything right. They never had to do anything that had to happen just because you, the audience, knew what had or could happen, or had to happen. But for that to be an opinion or a fact, it wouldn't have to change anything else. There are even facts that can't change what shouldn't have to happen, because there are ways to judge facts. There are ways to be misdetermined, even if that's in quotations, how these things are supposed to happen. If you look at how angry Taiga was, would you say that that was unnecessary, or that it wasn't real emotion, or that it wasn't even something that had to be a stereotype? You don't have to look at it that way, but you still did, and there's no shame in that. And for this anime to not have to do anything but still exist, isn't there any better blessing than that? Isn't there anything you would rather do than watch this anime, even though you already literally did? I'm sure that there wouldn't have to be anything else you would have to do, even if you knew there was only one way to do it. I'm someone who personally only wants to do things as long as there's more than one way to do them. But even if the label implies that I have to do certain things in only one way, I wouldn't mind to learn that human game. As I learned how to play the human game in my own way, I realized an idea that, like, I literally watched Toradora the anime in real life from a fictional ordain. I don't have to tell myself that there are ways I have to live my life. Even if there are only certain ways I can live my life, I don't have to pretend that the life I lived wasn't going to mean anything, even if there was only one way to live that life.